Hey, check me out on Patreon. It's only $2 a month, and you get to support the channel, and also like and subscribe if you can't be able to, donate or anything. Please support the channel by also checking out the links in the description below, where I have all my other socials and stuff like that. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and enjoy me yapping for about an hour about talking about different anime and different shows and stuff like that. It's a cute little compilation video I made up. All right, have a nice one.
I absolutely adore chibis, but I also absolutely adore Devilman. CB Chara Nagai Go World is a parody OVA that was released in 1991 and has 3 episodes and was created by the same team that made the Devilman OVAs from the late 80s to the early 90s. You know, those 2 episode OVAs that I won't shut the fuck up about. In 1992, a manga would be released called CB Chara Nagai Go World Genketsu Shin Shun Kagatsushi Gektai Kai. I hope I said that right. Now, the idea behind this OVA is, what if you put all your OCs together and from different universes and then mashed them all together, made them chibis, and made it extremely funny? Originally, I was going to review Mazinger Z vs. Devilman, but I found myself liking this one way more, so we're going to talk about that one at a later date. But trust me, that video is coming. Oh no, Akira Fudo has woken up and all of his friends and family and everyone else that he knows from the Devilman manga has been turned into chibis, and now it's up to him, Ryo, and Miki to go meet God and go turn them back to normal. And on their way there, meet a whole cast and crew of other Go Nagai characters, except for a chibi cutie honey, because I guess Go Nagai hates women or something. Right off the bat, I have to say the character writing in this anime is really good. I really like almost every single solitary character. They're all funny and really well fleshed out for a parody OVA. Akira likes Miki, but is also still a hero, so he wants to save the day. Then there's Ryo Asaka, the whole bad guy who's technically trying to pretend to be a good guy and proceeding to be really sneaky with the way how he moves throughout the OVA. And then there's Miki, who's sort of a meta fourth wall breaking fan who's genuinely a treat. If there's one note I have to make sure I point out, is that out of all my characters that I liked a lot in this OVA, Miki and Jinmen are my 2 favorite characters, and I love their interactions. Which brings me to my next point. I absolutely adore the character interactions between all the cast. And despite this being mainly Devilman focused, I have to say the Mazinger Z characters are really greatly represented throughout the OVA, and they're really funny. Like, oh my god, this bit right here had me laughing my ass off. I have to say, the stakes throughout this OVA are handled really well. You get the importance on why these characters want to turn back to normal and why these characters are also going on these other little side quests in between. It adds on to this underlayer of tension that I personally feel like is handled really well throughout the OVA. Each character has a reason to be here, from Akira all the way down to Dr. Hell, and personally I have to say each character's reason to be here is quite valid and it makes sense, both in the silliness of the context of the story and the actual plot. The whole point Jinmen is here is because he wants to bring honor to his family's name when he kills Akira. But the reason why Ryo is here is that he wants to prove that he is higher than God. Generally, the stakes in this anime go from being generally silly to being dead serious. And there's at one point when the anime actually starts to lock in and starts to be a little serious, and it's actually handled pretty well. Far better than I had expected it to be. Another really thing I have to say about this anime that this anime did that I was not expecting it to do is that it actually made me like Kaim. I don't like this guy in any other Devilman media, and I always feel like he breaks the pace of the story, but in this version of Kaim, I have to say, he's done really well. And I have to be honest, if you're a Mazinger Z fan and want to see how strong and tough and big and cool Mazinger is, I'm sorry, get ready to be sorely disappointed. And to be fair, I can't say this anime is indeed perfect. The pacing kind of slows down by the middle of the second episode, but picks up toward the middle of the third episode, and it is generally a very small chunk of the anime that doesn't work out all that well, but generally good. It's good. It's a very solid anime, and I enjoyed watching it. And I think that if you are a Devilman fan or interested in watching a sillier version of the Devilman mythos, I think you should check out. Insert the title of this anime again. Devilman Chibi. You know, I'm just going to call it the Devilman Chibi anime. Yes, that one. You should watch the Devilman Chibi anime, even if you aren't a Devilman fan, because it still is pretty funny. The reason why I love Chibi Devilman is also the reason why I love Devilman so much as a franchise. It's a franchise that contains multitudes. There's space for violence and gore and all that terrible, horrible stuff and the tragedy of humanity, but there's also space for comedy. Comedy has always been part of Devilman, and I feel like Chibi Devilman represents the franchise really well in that aspect. And in that way, it's what makes Devilman not just a good franchise that I love, but a great franchise that I love. And, you know, in a world full of darkness, it's nice to find some light. We all feel it. It's inescapable a lot of the time. Even when you're in a room filled with people, you can still feel it. For me, I feel this painful emptiness in my chest. It'll hurt, but nothing is there, so my mind creates reasons why I feel like this. Why am I lonely?
Simply put, you're not good enough for people, Shakestar.
Oh wait, you're right. For others, it might be different. We all have our reasons why we're lonely. Then there's that feeling of loneliness, you know, that feeling of unrequited love. From your crush or a relationship you thought was going super well, and then it hits the brakes out of nowhere and just ends. So thus, you're just left there longing, craving, and praying for a person who might not even feel the same way back. What do you do when this feeling hits? Do you spend time with your friends or family, or do you indulge in the most unhealthiest vices to escape the pain? Matsukazu Katsura is a Japanese mangaka. His works include Wingman and Zetman. What the fuck is Zetman? He's been in the industry for decades, and he's most popular for his character designs. He worked on the gorgeous and underrated Iria anime from 1994 and Tiger and Bunny. I don't like Tiger and Bunny. Actually, he was really close friends with Akira Toriyama spanning back to the 80s. They even worked on a collaborative manga together in 2008. But of all his body of works, his most popular is his 1989 manga.
I see. Unrequited love, is it? Don't let it get you down though, okay? They just don't understand you. You've got a lot to offer another person. I know I'm not much, but how would you feel about letting me be the one to cheer you up?
Spanning 13 volumes and released in Weekly Shonen Jump, it would get a live-action adaptation in 1991, but in 1992 there would be a 7-episode OVA. It would be animated by the branch studio of Tatsunoko, IG Tatsunoko. Also, keep the name of Tatsunoko in mind for other videos, because they're one of the most important anime studios ever to exist.
Stop crying, it won't do any good, and anyway, you have a lot of work to do, starting right now.
With the manga spanning 13 volumes, it was released in Weekly Shonen Jump. It would get a... Oh, I already read that part. It's no secret that the world of anime is as popular as it is because it provides escapism to one of its highest degrees.
Wouldn't you like to be the person who controls the giant robot and save the day?
But
Video Girl Eye plays with the notion of escapism, reality, and unrequited love in such an intriguing way that it stood the test of time as one of my most favorite and also most unforgettable OVAs. Okay, it's not my favorite anime of all time. Shit, I wouldn't even put in my top 10 favorite anime, but honest to God, I do like this anime a lot, and I do appreciate it for what it's worth, so let's talk about it actually. Yota Martucci is our hopeless romantic protagonist. After finding out his crush Moemi has feelings for another guy, Takashi, Yota buys a VHS tape at a mysterious blockbuster-like rental store. He rents a video girl, which is essentially a girlfriend on a VHS tape made to cheer him up. When Yota puts the VHS tape into his broken VCR, the video glitches and out jumps Ai Amano. After shenanigans and them opening up to each other, Ai promises to help Yota build up the confidence to ask out his crush Moemi. That's till we find out that Ai actually develops feelings for Yota. That's right, Moemi likes Takashi, but Yota likes Moemi, and Ai likes Yota! With limited time on Ai's VHS tape running out and Moemi, Takashi, and Yota's interactions developing, the anime keeps you entranced with who will love who, and how will this end for our characters you'll grow to love in the course of 6 episodes. I am not a humongous fan of fan service. I really feel like it distracts from the anime, and it's not always really funny a good majority of the time. Sadly, this anime does have fan service that particularly isn't funny, but the comedy that is not fan service is actually really good. I really feel like both the Japanese and English dub do a really good job of portraying the quirky little humorous moments while perfectly nailing its emotional moments. Top it off with some beautiful, really good solid animation and a gorgeous muted color palette, and the character design being really strong. I like how Ai's design and style contrast from all the other characters, giving her this idealized anime girl look in the real world, dealing with real world people drama, but it never feels distracting and it feels very subtle.
I also very much like Ai's fits. Girl knows nothing else but drip, to be honest.
And I'm a humongous fan of how this story treats its characters and themes and how well the characters and its themes go along with each other. And I'm going to be honest with you, the subplot with the VHS tape running out of time has a major effect on the ending that I'm not going to spoil. Yeah, I don't want to tell you guys how this anime ends because it's so shocking and heart-wrenching that it would be a disservice to the anime itself. Another strong suit of this anime is Yota.
What am I gonna do with you?
I feel like in a weaker anime it would portray him as such a loser, or someone to be pointed and laughed at, but I really appreciate that this anime really goes out of its way to portray Yoda's pain, making him sympathetic and never letting him go down that journey of, I'm a nice guy and I deserve a GF because I'm a nice guy. Yoda is a nice guy in the aspects of what these quote-unquote nice guys think they are, but in actuality aren't. There's this real humbleness and humility to the character that I very much appreciate. When he finds out that Moemi does not have feelings for him, he instead helps Moemi come to grips with her feelings for Takashi. It's clear he values his connection and friendship with her more than anything, even if it is a bit to his own detriment. He's the main character that we follow. We never get to meet his parents. They're soon to be away on a business trip, so he has this entire place to himself, adding on to the anime's underlying theme of loneliness. Animation, being a visual medium off the bounds of reality, really lends itself to being able to depict scenarios and feelings that can only be imagined, drawn, and illustrated frame by frame. It can depict happiness in a way that may be hard to describe or even show in live action. The same goes for sadness, with the use of color, having the right frame fully congested to the point things are floating in the air, or having a room completely empty. There are so many ways to
depict sadness and even ever more so loneliness. And I really feel that's one of the strong suits of this anime, and especially when depicting Yota. By following his story and his actions and how he interacts with the people in his life, you can get this weird loneliness where there are characters still there in frame around him, but still that odd sense of lack of expected connection. And that could really be relatable to not just the idea of romantic loneliness, but also to the idea of platonic loneliness. Yoda's best friend Takashi is shown to be one of his closest friends, but still there's that disconnect of his friend dating his crush, and it feels like a different form of loneliness, isolating Yoda into not ever feeling that connection he could feel and we want him to feel. The fullness of at least, or the half fullness. In that loneliness, there's I to comfort him, and as annoying and cutesy she is, there's this bond she makes with him that even makes her go against her own programming. Amongst I going against her programming and Yoda's feeling of loneliness, there's Moemi, a character that even as an adult I can relate to, liking two different people for two different reasons, and wondering which one you should go after despite being in denial about the feeling about the other person. Though the anime doesn't really properly explore it as much as I would have liked that it did, the way how it handles it, it's very mature, and it never feels like it's thinking less or putting Moemi down for feeling the way that she does. Then there's Takashi, and as much as he does his little gaslighting thing at the end of the anime, I think we can all relate to doing something that we would not characteristically do, or do something that we really wouldn't recommend as being the right thing. And in all honesty, that's a real trait. Look, it doesn't excuse what he does, but it does explain what he does to a certain degree, and it doesn't make it good, but it definitely doesn't make me hate the character or anything. He's just put in a weird position. You and I know human beings. Human beings can do some pretty toxic things. Everyone has red flags, but some people are stop signs, never forget that. Speaking of red flags, I'm looking for a they he or a they she with a septum piercing and a really bad hair dye job to swoop me off my feet. Preferably you have parental issues, please. Oh, fuck. And though the anime does not go really into depth about what he's doing being wrong, like Moemi's trial, he's handled with the level of respect, and it doesn't make him any less or any more sympathetic. It just makes Takeshi Takeshi. And from whether the characters are doing something that's right or something the characters are doing that's wrong, this anime, in a very odd way, feels so relatable to this feeling of stuck between two people, relatable in this feeling of doing the wrong thing because you're expecting the right outcome, and ever more so that theme and that feeling of loneliness. I want you to understand and keep in mind that there are 7 billion people plus on this planet. All of us are different people. All of us have different outcomes, some good, some bad, some terrible, some great, some in between, and that's 7 billion different kinds of experiences, and all of us can relate to the feeling of loneliness, because I know you felt it before, and I know that I felt it before, and I have friends that love and care for me now, but there's moments when I felt like I didn't. I felt like I was truly alone. I made sure that when I was writing this review that I was coming from more of a personal place than just a reviewer's place, to tell you that you're not alone. So many people feel the way that you do, even if it feels like no one does. Trust me, people do, and the worst thing that you could do is to become recluse or just stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to. I would say that's not something that you should do. I think the best thing that you could do when you're feeling down like this is to step out of your bounds, to do the things that you normally would not do, to find a new craft, a new thing to love for yourself. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, you're stuck with you. You need to do what's right by you, and no one else can do that other than you. I say this because there's a moment in this anime when Yoda sees that there's that manga competition, and then he kind of comes to the resolution that being a mangaka is something that he wants to do, and it makes him feel good, and makes him feel better, and he's able to lock in and do his own thing. And though I don't expect you to become a full-fledged comic artist, if whatever you're doing makes you feel better about yourself, then I definitely feel like you should go toward it. And I feel like that little moment in the anime spoke to me so well that sometimes As corny as it is, you just gotta lock in on yourself.
Come to grips with who you are and appreciate the intricate beauties of you. I feel like one of my favorite shots in this anime is this one right here. Yoda fawning over Moemi, Moemi fawning over Takashi, while Takashi stares at the theater screen oblivious to Moemi or Yota. And just thinking back on it, I'm like, damn, the reason why this shot stands out to me is because I've been in all these positions before. Though it's not my favorite anime of all time, I really do love Video Girl Eye. Definitely watch it. You'll be greeted with pretty animation, great characters, and a heart-wrenching finale that'll just hurt to watch. Hey, and it's Valentine's Day coming up, so if you're alone on Valentine's Day, maybe do yourself a favor and watch Video Girl Eye. Cry a little bit, or laugh a little bit, I don't know. Do whatever you want to do, and hey, don't forget, you're a whole lot more powerful than you think you are.
Finally, the only thing left to be done is to capture the essential life data from your counterpart. Then you'll be complete, my Hyper Metal Sonic. When you awaken, kill him!
In this world, there are three things that I love: anime, thick shorties, and Sonic the Hedgehog. Bonus points if you can get all three, but knowing the internet, that's not too hard to find. I've been enamored with the blue blur since the age of 3.
My earliest experience with Sonic, if we really want to get technical, was fumbling about with secret rings for the Wii before giving up. But it was playing the classic games on my crusty iPad that really got me hook, line, and sinker.
My first experiences with the Blue Blur were a simultaneous explosion of Sonic 2 on an old Sega Genesis plug-and-play console, Sonic Heroes on GameCube, and the English dub of Sonic X, and reading through Wikipedia articles. Like, I legit printed out the article for Tales mid-2005 to read away from the computer, like, yeah, I was that kid, sorry.
I thought Sonic was a learning game for the first 10 years of my life. You know not the cryogenic agony that shook me to my core when another 5th grader showed me Sonic fan art online. I feel like Captain America when he woke up in 2012 Manhattan and saw the glistening digital dystopia of modern America. My bootleg childhood haunts my very being to this day, lingering like a shadow around all of my social interactions. I am not satiated by nostalgia or longing for days gone by. I am tortured by the void resting beneath my eyes whenever I search for an infant memory and find nothing.
I'll never forget when my mom got me Sonic Mega Collections on my GameCube, and some years later her showing me Sonic X on TV. From his design to his attitude to having the greatest tracks in gaming history, the Blue Rat screams iconic in every way of the word. So if you have an iconic, profitable IP with a cast of silly animal friends, adaptations are sure to come. And seeing that we're on our way to get our 4th movie and a bunch of spin-off shows set in the Sonic Cinematic Universe, or the SCU, I thought we'd dig into the past. Sonic's anime past. Yes, there's the poorly animated but highly regarded millennial/Gen Z nostalgia bait Sonic X, but that's a whole TV show, and I don't have that much time on my hands, so we're gonna have to do something a little simpler and a little shorter today. We're gonna look at the 1996 2-episode OVA that was supposed to be its own series, Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. As I mentioned before, I love thick shorties, and even better, I have a friend who's not only just a thick shorty, but also loves Sonic the Hedgehog. Ladies and gentlethems, put your hands together for Skeleton Gwen.
Wait, what? Yeah, but like, okay, before I get into the production of this Sonic the movie, let's go through some background information to really set the stage on where and when this anime was coming out. After a near decade of attempts to pop off in the American market, Sega's console, the Mega Drive, rebranded as the Genesis, was a huge success. With the release of quality titles like Sonic the Hedgehog, the company was giving their competitor Nintendo a run for their money. They nearly beat them in the 16-bit console wars of the early 90s with catchy slogans like
"You can't do this on Nintendo Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis does."
What Nintendo?
Ah, the Genesis days were Sega's golden years. But these times were limited. Sega's failure as a company can kind of be explained by 4 major reasons. Number 1. Sega's rush to put out 2 expensive add-ons that each had their own line of games. The Sega CD and Sega 32X. Both were made to prolong the life of the Genesis, both of which were financial failures, and costly ones at that. Number 2. The release of the Sony PlayStation in 1994 shook up the console market, and it was technically a superior console and a very financially successful one at that. Number 3. The disastrous launch of the Sega Saturn here in North America was also a huge contributing factor. Instead of building hype for the console and giving consumers and retailers time to prepare for the Saturn, Sega released the console the same day it was announced, which frustrated retailers so much that some completely refused to even sell the console. And 4, lastly, was the lack of a first-party mainline Sonic game for the Saturn. It doomed the console. The rough development of the cancelled Sonic Extreme left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, from consumers to retailers to fans and developers, one of whom almost died making the game. The Sonic OVA was created as a pilot for a potential TV series, also created to fill up the Sonic drought that was going on. Look, by 1996, the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sad.I.Am, and other spin-off games like Sonic the Fighters for the Saturn were cancelled, and other than like Sonic R, there was no new mainline games. Since there were only 2 episodes of the OVA produced, Sonic's anime pitch wasn't quite as successful as Sega hoped. Both episodes ultimately would be sold as a singular movie when it was localized here in the West.
Sonic the Movie
Was storyboarded and directed by Kazutaka Ikegami and released in Japan in 1996. Animated by Studio Perrault. Dubbed and licensed here in the States by ADV. It was released here on September 7th, 1999. Now, if you're a Sega Sonic fan like myself, then that date may tickle the ears, because that's 2 days before both the release of the Dreamcast and its launch title Sonic Adventure. Yeah, Sega released their console and system seller on 9/9/1999. An uncut/unedited version of the OVA was later released in 2004 on DVD. Unfortunately, the OVA has been out of print for over 20 years. When Discotek Media attempted to release it on Blu-ray, Sega failed to locate key documents related to the OVA's music and voice actors, so it since has remained out of syndication. Leave it to Sega to screw something up.
Okay, I'm back from my vacation. The production information is all nice and all, but I guess you're wondering the same thing I'm wondering. What is Sonic the OVA, the movie, the TV, the failed TV show, even about?
Dr. Robotnik is back on some bullshit. Politely suggests that Sonic and Tails go turn off the generator that's about to destroy his homeworld of Robotropolis. And in exchange, he won't kill the president of Freedom Planet and his daughter Sarah. Actually, wait, no, I think, isn't he supposed to marry? I'm gonna do 2 just in case. And in exchange, he won't kill the president of Freedom Planet and marry his daughter Sarah. But just to sweeten the deal, Dr. Robotnik has another gift. A fancy new toy he constructed whilst jacking all the Blue Hedgehog's moves.
Hyper Metal Sonic.
Or just Metal Sonic, I don't know. I'm gonna let the nerds argue about that one.
You live because I allow it.
It's up to Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles to take out Dr. Robotnik and stop the Aura Farmer, Hyper Metal Sonic. Will the Blue Blur thwart the schemes of this evil genius? Will Batman beat the Joker? Will Superman defeat Lex Luthor? Will Shakestar drop another banger?
Let's go. You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to happen. You since I know everything you're going to do.
I'm gonna be honest. There's things I like about the OVA, and then there's things I really don't like about this OVA. Trust me, I'm a dick riding Sonic the Hedgehog fan, but I'm not stupid. And if my honest opinions were going to be on display for this video about how I feel about the Sonic the Hedgehog, the OVA, the movie, whatever, yada yada, I honestly think that it's
Something fascinating to me about the Sonic OVA is that despite being the kind of thing that basically exists in an artistic vacuum, it is very representative of the franchise's direction, as well as being a culmination of what was easily gathered from prior games. The characterization feels very aligned with the character profiles from Sonic Jam, and the world feels about as unique as CD, and dynamics are very identical to the early games. Small things like Knuckles being shy around women due to his Chud Guardian lifestyle.
Despite Knuckles flying being a weird creative choice that makes me feel like they didn't actually play the Sonic games and mostly just went off of character description of what they might possibly be doing, I really like Knuckles in this OVA.
Is very canon. Tails being afraid of lightning is a common thing, I think it might have started here. And Sarah the Cat Girl being the main voice to persuade Sonic to go on the adventure to Robotropolis feels very much like his dynamic with women in the games in general, namely the human ones. Though I like her design, I think she could have easily been swapped out for Amy here and not much would have changed. Save for the tasteless and uncomfortable pervert humor they have with Eggman. Ugh, at least Ivo isn't like Roshi.
Other than Rouge the Bat, I don't think fan service goes that well with Sonic the Hedgehog, and I really don't like it in this anime.
Speaking of OVA original aspects, the world does feel very much in line with stuff like the floating islands of Angel and the annual Little Planet Lake floating. The president and his daughter definitely feel like something from a would-be anime, but don't really gel that well with Sonic's current vibe at this point, and even further beyond. But his dismissive attitude of Eggman as a threat very much is in line with the rest of the franchise. In fact, I'd say Sonic is a bit more of an asshole here, but you know, for a character marketed for his cocky attitude, yeah, I sure hope he is. Sonic these days can often sound more like a minivan dad, so I'll take an irritable teenager-esque performance. Yeah, I fuck with it. Metal, on the other hand, I have mixed feelings about. He's my daughter, after all, my favorite character. It says a lot about the mindset of a character to firmly believe in your identity, and also accept that there is an imposter of yourself that coexists with whose definition doesn't define you. You know you were made after his existence was recorded. Your truest form is that of a giant fucking dragon.
We're not talking about Sonic Heroes.
You're Sonic, but you're not. This contradiction is Metal's internal struggles on a daily basis, and while I'm not completely in love with the idea of Sonic's biodata, thought patterns, and memories fueling the OVA's Hyper Metal Sonic variant, as an artistic interpretation through an adaptive iteration, I think it's pretty okay. I think they did a good job with it, especially for a 2-episode anime pilot. Metal Sonic having his programmed rivalry with the Hedgehog causing a fight, not directly overriding with him saving innocence, clowning on the old man owl instead of killing him, and then eventually formulating enough of a consciousness in life to choose self-sacrifice and let his doppelganger exist as the only Sonic as the way to save everybody. I think this is all a very functional artistic interpretive liberty to adapt what was at the time basically known to be a drone with a mild rebellious streak, thank you Knuckles Chaotix. This is pre-Heroes after all. And this kind of goes for the whole thing, no? Is this not an artistic refraction of the Genesis era of Sonic? In fact, the OVA was kind of seen as this holy grail when I was a child. Much like Shakestar's experience, my first viewing being in chunks on YouTube. By the way, I also saw the horror film Wreck this way with my folks. Pre-streaming internet was fun. The important part being that this Sonic the movie was a legend, one whose synopsis was often tangled with Archie comics. By the way, I'm an IDW girly. I don't know who Snively is, and I'm getting scared at this point. Finally, around age 9, I saw the whole darn thing, and it felt like everything made sense. It may have some differences that don't gel greatly, but I think the OVA is very much Sonic running a repeat of his peak. And look, all my friends here have different upbringings with the blue guy, mine being closest to align with the target audience of the OVA, weirdly enough. I didn't watch any American-made cartoons, save from one episode of Underground and the dub of X. I mainly knew the guy for the Genesis games via the Mega Collection and later Gems collections. Heroes was very much a simple game and plot, and Sonic X entering the adaptation of Sonic Adventure at the time when I really tuned in. I'm not a JP Sonic purist, mind you. I actually really love the OVA's dub. Okay, well, love is a strong term, but for a late 90s anime dub, I think Sonic sounds better here as a snarkly, nasally wise-ass compared to Jaleel White's Looney Tunes and Brian Drummond's debut, I know, sacrilege. As an adaptation of Sonic CD+, I think it's probably one of the better adaptations of a game that we've kind of gotten for the guy. I mean, it's better to the CD era lore than Sonic Movie 3 was to SA2. Look, if you can stomach Jim Carrey spanking himself in a scene in the middle of the climax of the movie, I don't think Sarah is annoying enough to be written off. But that's the risk of translation through form and medium. Especially since Sonic's distribution across markets is one that wound up leading to everybody having a different interpretation of what Sonic is. Thank you, Sega of America.
Hold up. I know. I didn't just hear you say that you don't like the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, no, it's really cute, I guess, but I just don't care for it.
Honestly, my feelings are not as positive when it comes to this OVA. I am not being affected by nostalgia blindness when I say that I absolutely do not like the dub.
No fair! You kidnapped the president and Sarah so you can hold them for ransom and take over South Island, didn't you?
I bet Robotnik purposely picked the route with the most traps for us.
But this really is the most direct way! There should even be a warp zone coming right ahead of us! Already, Sonny! We're starting to run out of time!
What's that? Look at it.
Uh-huh.
Despite the beautiful backgrounds and the perfect illustrations of Sonic the Hedgehog's speed being depicted, I am not too crazy about Sonic's design in this OVA. There's just something about his head, okay? I'm just looking at his head. It's just so, there's just something off-key.
His arms are too short, his eyes are too far apart.
I am currently trying to record something, Gwen. My nigga, let me record something! Please! I am not too crazy about Sonic the Hedgehog's characterization in this. Yeah, I get it, he's supposed to be cocky and arrogant, but honest to God, other than the first 15 minutes where he's being cocky and mostly mean,
Shut up, Tails!
he doesn't really have a character after that. He's kind of more like Sonic the Bland Hog. If we're looking for good classic depictions of Sonic the Hedgehog, I think The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog does a really great job at it. Not only do I prefer Jaleel White's voice over whatever the fuck this is, but I also feel like when it comes down to the basics, it gets Sonic down at his best. Yes, future games would do it far better, but in my opinion, Sonic the Hedgehog is way better when he's being one part cocky, one part arrogant, 2 parts inspirational, not just to the characters around him, but to the audience themselves.
There's nothing more cool than being hugged by someone you like. But if someone tries to touch you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good.
I don't really find this anime funny. I think a majority of the attempts of humor that this anime tries to do is at most creepy and at least boring and unfunny. And I also just really don't like the writing and the exposition heavy dialogue. It's really holding the anime down and killing the pacing in my opinion, especially in the second episode.
So that's what really happened. Even with all of Sonic's data, that creature still can't destroy the land of the sky, can he?
It's possible. I've traveled the subterranean levels of this planet, and I know them better than anyone. I've seen firsthand what his target is going to be, and it's at the northernmost tip of this continent.
I think Hyper Metal Sonic or Metal Sonic or whatever you want to call him in this adaptation is perfectly done, and especially that final battle. It's literally so amazing. But when, the best part about the whole OVA to me is just simply this, let's be honest, 5-minute, relatively short battle. I don't really think I could really praise the OVA as much as my other co-host would. But if there is one thing I really like a lot, is the music. And thankfully, we have ravsucks here to tell us a little bit about the music. So Rav, take it away.
Among the OVA's highlights is its original soundtrack, a halfway point between the crisp, sample-laden funk of its source material and the ominous synths of a 90s anime score. If the OVA itself is hard to find, the soundtrack is nearly impossible. Even today, we don't have an official release. A staff member of the production company managed to leak a demo tape to Illuminor and Mefirasu, but it's still incomplete. Still, what's on the tape, and whatever else is audible in the background, lives up to the Sonic legacy of banger soundtracks. South Island is a fan favorite, and I'd say the closest to Sonic CD. It's got a similar trumpet to the ones used on Stardust Speedway. Can't quite tell if it's synthetic or sampled, but my money's on the former. It also uses a recurring leitmotif from the OVA's main theme, Lookalike. That track has vocals by Ryu Kanaka, as can be heard in the credits. The lyricism isn't that complex, mainly comparing objects that look similar, just as the latter half of the OVA focuses on the dichotomy between Sonic and metal. Hyper metal. There's a rumbling bass on Approaching Egg Generator that's very evocative of Speed Demon from MJ's Bad. Michael has a history with the franchise, so not a stretch to say that this was intentional. Sonic to the Rescue chops up and loops a drum break sample, alongside a very heavy synth hook, sounding like something out of the TMNT games. That sort of, and then the, this is backed by a synthetic church organ, all of which combines to feel straight out of a 90s platformer. Not much to comment on for the rest. A lot of synth pads and ooh sounds ripped from 90s keyboard packs. It doesn't stand out, but it's not supposed to. It fits the vibe of the scene and isn't disruptive. To be a contrarian though, I will say that Metal Sonic's theme doesn't entirely fit his vibe. It feels more braggadocious than intimidating. More befitting Eggman than his eerie, red-eyed creation.
So Sonic is a hedgehog. I'm correct so far, right guys? Look, I really don't want to misrepresent or hold any preconceptions when talking about this franchise because I know how important it is to a lot of people, my enthusiastically fervent co-hosts included. I nearly cried at the Sonic 3 movie, not because the story was so good, but because the energy in the theater was palpable. There were those who waited their whole lives to see the blue blur dashing through frames on the silver screen, rubbing shoulders with children in cosplay who just discovered then and there the community of fandom. This was probably the first film at least one of those kids had seen, and like I learned to love cinema through a childhood obsession, a tear formed in my eye imagining that this could be the movie that inspired a future generation. As someone who is more interested in media's cultural impact than overall quality, I'd rather be a passive consumer of Sonic in this way. You know, the kind of person who's just happy to see their friends happy and would only really engage with it deeply because they told them to hop on a video where she could say whatever she wanted as long as it was about a blue hedgehog. Speaking of getting to the damn point, one of the themes that this OVA explores is that of Sonic's identity, and this is done through the fan favorite
Hyper Metal Sonic.
And I don't know if this characterization acts in accordance with the scriptures, but it certainly falls in line with the narrative function of most robot cyborg characters in cinema. Metallica Sonic, as Robotnik expositions at us, was constructed with genetic information directly extracted from Sonic by dubious means.
Sonic wasn't being electrocuted earlier. Instead, I was transferring his life data and collecting all the information essential to my creation.
So Robotnik electrocuted Sonic and gathered his life data to father a metallic lookalike bastard child.
My god, the Yowie.
And that, to me, was the most striking aspect of Megadeth Sonic. Not what Rav said, the other thing. He isn't just made after Sonic's image. He has part of Sonic in him.
Phrasing.
Robots and cyborgs in cinema have been used to hold a mirror to humanity for as long as we've been able to imagine them. Experiencing its genesis in the silent era, humanoid machines exploring existentialism was at its peak in the media of the late 80s and 90s. They tackled the realities of violence and justice with RoboCop, the significance of memory and what it means to be a human in Blade Runner, and artificial intelligence's capacity for evil 40 plus years before Grok was data moshing CSAM on Elon Musk's Hell site. All brought to you by the man responsible for September 11th.
Your Chaos Emeralds, give them to me.
And I know exactly what you're thinking. Christoph from Deadass Films, there's no way the narrative function of Merciful Fate Sonic goes any deeper than that. Is that a challenge? Wer mit Ungeheuer kämpft, magst du sehen, dass nicht dabei zum Ungeheuer wird. Und wenn du lang in ein Abgrund blickst, blickt der Abgrund auch in dich hinein. What philosophy's favorite mustache attached to a human is saying here, in its most simple terms, is the idea that caution in battling one's internal darkness is key, lest you be consumed by it. Do not sacrifice self-understanding at the altar of life's mysteries and let despair harden your heart. But anyone who knows Sonic knows that caution is something he likes to throw to the wind. He moves first, acts before he thinks, and doesn't let anyone get in his way. Yet who is more Sonic's personal abyss than Motorhead Sonic? A calculated, cold, metal machine driven by strict codes with the prime directive of destroying Sonic and the world. He's an antagonist archetype as old as time, a digital force of nature. But perhaps that lack of emotion or thinking doesn't run counter to the analog Sonic. It exists because of him, in some twisted misappropriation of the darker sides of his personality.
Because Metal was programmed with all of Sonic's data. He knows everything. His likes, his dislikes, his personality, and all his thoughts. That's why he knew to come down here. And he even gave the old man his favorite clothes.
Keep in mind, too, that Tails figures out a way to overload Mastodon Sonic's system
by assimilating Sonic's personality. Impressive!
You see, Sonic's cockiness is the whole point. It's an inalienable part of what made him appealing to the hip, cool kids of the 90s. But newer stories have been put to the screen in recent years, exploring the idea that Sonic's nonchalant attitude and speed are indicative of him running away from a deeper emotional pain. And they're the most admirable aspects of those movies.
No matter how fast I run, I cannot run away from the pain.
On that note, I always admired Sega's unique choice in animal mascots. Sure, the series has the usual cat and rabbit, but you're lying to me if you say you didn't first learn what an echidna was from Knuckles.
I learned what animals were from Sonic's Schoolhouse!
I can't help but feel the choice to make Sonic specifically a hedgehog, whether intentional or otherwise, serendipitously lines up with his characterization on a psychological level. To jam another European philosopher into the discussion, Otto Schopenhauer's Hedgehog's Dilemma is a metaphor he conceived to describe humans in interpersonal relationships as well as broader society in his book Paradega and Paralipomena. The basic idea is that in winter, hedgehogs need to huddle together for warmth, but their sharp spines keep them from doing so effectively, making physical closeness just as painful as distance. The same is true of human beings. Intimacy comes at the risk of harm, and thus our defense mechanisms keep us from truly getting close with others. It should be stated, however, that Schopenhauer originally used a porcupine, and only through quotation and colloquialisms did we come to call it the Hedgehog's Dilemma in English. If you're not a pretentious philosophy major, then you've more than likely heard of this concept from Neon Genesis Evangelion, with the English title of episode 4 literally being Hedgehog's Dilemma. Either way, you're probably really depressed. But hey, that's another anime that ADV dubbed, so there's that. Taking this idea back to Sonic's particular dilemma, his compulsory independence and need to fight things alone head on. By way of his spiky back, his pugilism and snark can be seen as an extension of his desire to remain isolated. And in that way, Morbid Angel Sonic is an amplified weaponization of these traits, tweaked by Dr. Robotnik to razor-edge precision and aimed back at Sonic himself. In essence, he is the abyss staring Sonic dead in his eyes that are actually just one eye with two pupils. A warning of how everything that he is only needs a slight adjustment to become a destructive, callous force. There is indeed only one Sonic, and without his vitality, personality, and friends at his side, the organic Sonic could very easily become exactly like Manila Road Sonic. Yeah, let's see who gets that deep cut. In conclusion, Metal Sonic does what Nintendo don't!
The animation is sort of all over the place, which I forgot to mention before. Despite the backgrounds being really beautiful, I don't really like the characterization of the characters in this anime. And generally speaking, I don't find it funny and I don't like the writing. Other than just a very few couple of moments which can culminate up to, at most, maybe 5 minutes of footage, I really don't find the rest of this anime really entertaining, and I kind of don't look forward to watching it again. And I loved it when I was a kid, but as an adult, I just feel really differently, and I just can't honestly say that it's my favorite thing, or hell, that I really even like it all that much. This really represents Sonic the Hedgehog to me. Yeah, I might have not have been the biggest fan of one of the ventures that he was on, but god damn it, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. He's my favorite thing ever, and he's on screen. So, as much as I try to be a cynical adult, that little bit of that kid side of me kind of loves this thing.
I couldn't have phrased it any better, my dearest Downer. Not to yum yuck, but I very much enjoyed the Sonic OVA. It's not perfect by any means, but as a piece of Sonic media that's representative of its era, it's a personification of the kind of inspirational interpretations of media that I fucking live for. It is clearly rough in some aspects, some animation is a little dodgy, they over-explain shit, there's pervy humor, etc, etc. But its respect to what made Sonic shine at the time is what makes it so iconic. Any nostalgic biases aside, it's still a solid Sonic cartoon of the Genesis era that carries what I really value about the franchise at this time. This is Sonic in its purest form. Sharp quills and all.
Outside of the OST, I don't have much to say that everyone else hasn't already outlined. There's a lot of potential in this setting that isn't explored and will never be explored to its fullest. One of the overarching themes of Sonic CD, and the series in general, is the opposing struggle between nature and technology. The Land of Darkness is a depressing industrial wasteland, while Planet Freedom is a tropical paradise. Eggman's plan involves destroying certain natural features that keep the planet afloat. Yet, in contrast to the games and other adaptations, this attitude towards nature never feels central to his motivation. It just happens to be an obstacle to his conquest. It's also a radically different setting to anything else we saw in the 90s. At least Sad AM, Archie, and Fleetway tried to stick close to the plot and locations from the games. This is a radical reinvention, and yet we spend so little time getting to know Sarah, the president, the old man, etc. I can't necessarily fault it for this. It's 2 pilot episodes, not a full body of work. I'm sure that if it got picked up for a full series, they probably had plans to flesh all this out. But I'm still left wanting more.
When it comes to how I value this little blue bastard, I don't think I need to have any experiential knowledge to deem him worthy of praise. A failed add-on, a failed console, a couple of failed games and series couldn't stop him. They just kinda slowed him down. Now he's on the silver screen. The fandom is alive and he's more popular with kids than he's ever been before. The years he spent in financial flop, he made up for with cultural staying power. And the franchise raked in all the coins decades later. Or rings, I guess? Are rings the currency, guys? I'm still not familiar. Furthermore, my favorite thing about Sonic the Hedgehog is seeing how all of my friends love him in their own unique ways. Sure, they argue over things I couldn't even scrape the highest comprehension of, and I feel like that furry kid crying while his parents argue, but my vicarious enjoyment of their discussion is how I shape my own perspective. It's kind of why my takes are always so informed and my video essays are so amazing and I'm so hot. Each of my lovely friends here today showed me a side of Sonic that I never considered. They approached the same OVA with different expectations and came away with mixed reactions, all of which I take in as part of my own broader appreciation of Sonic. And thanks to ravsucks, Shakestar, and Skeleton Gwen, I get to help show him 4 times the love. I hope it's enough to atone for the fact that I literally thought he was a school teacher until I was in the 5th grade.
When it comes down to iconic 80s and 90s mecha, there's a couple that come to mind. Other than the underrated and well-animated giant Gorg and Steam Detectives, yes, I'm working on a Steam Detectives video and it's taking me forever. It's been like, my god, like a year now. There's been bangers like Megazone 2-3, Bubblegum Crisis, and of course Gundam, despite it releasing in 1979, but honestly, who's counting? But if we were to focus on one studio and one OVA, Artmic was the leader in that genre. Despite it not being as well known as their previous work, Megazone 2-3, I feel that Metal Skin Panic Madoc 01 should be one of those retro anime that should be remembered for its beautiful animation, fantastic mech designs, and fun and engaging story. Shinji Aramaki. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he's the mind behind the mech designs for Robotech, Megazone 2-3, and Appleseed, but he's mostly famous for making the designs for Takara's toy line that would become the G1 Transformers. To list all the man's achievements would be a video in itself, but after the success of his other projects, that would lead him to create and direct his directorial and fully visioned debut project, Metal Skin Panic Madoc 01. But what is Metal Skin Panic even about? Who made it, and why should we even remember it? I'm Shakestar, I review anime of yesteryear, and today we're going to be looking at Metal Skin Panic Madoc 01.
My drill is the drill that creates the heaven!
Shake, shake!
Metal Skin Panic's plot is actually quite simple. Koji, a young mechanic, stumbles across and gets stuck in a military-grade mech, the Madoc 01. This, of course, gets the military's attention, but Koji has a date with Shiori, a girl he recently cut things off with. Causing chaos for the city just to meet her, it's up to Koji to meet Shiori and evade the military's attacks, leaving a line of destruction.
Oh great, now they're ganging up on me! Over there! Look out below!
Will Koji get out of the mech and meet his love, or will he die at the hands of the spiteful and evil Lieutenant Kilgore?
It won't stop!
This mech will get red hot. You're up!
I'm coming, Shiori. Wait for me. I'm not running anymore. I don't try that.
Off the bat, I wanted to talk about what doesn't work in this anime. The characters are very of their time, one note, and mainly a vehicle to get the plot moving. If you're expecting deep characters, I'm sorry, watch something else, I guess. I blame the anime's short length for not helping its characters be as fleshed out as well as they could have been. And the next little point I want to say is something generic, love interest, who cares? The music isn't the best of this era, unlike Megazone 2-3, which had a fantastic and memorable soundtrack. I won't be humming any of the generic 80s background noise in this anime, and the ending is so rushed and so dumb that I'll talk about it more in the spoilers section. And honestly, yeah, that's it. I think Metal Skin Panic is a great anime and one of the crowning jewels of the golden age of 80s anime. From its character design by Hideki Tamura to its silly story, written and directed by Aramaki. For the 40 minutes it's on screen, this anime is a treat. Despite my complaints about the one-note characters, that doesn't mean they aren't entertaining. Koji is such a lovable dumbass. Instead of him just simply explaining he's stuck in the mech or just finding someone who can help get him out, he goes on this whole adventure or quest just to see his shorty, and I can admire that.
Oh, he just like me. He just like me for real.
The villain is our generic evil army man, but Kilgore is such a malicious asshole, you just want to see him eat shit at one point. I found this anime actually funny. It's not hilarious by any means. I never found myself belly laughing or slapping my knees at its comedy, but I still found it funny. And despite its breakneck pace, I actually enjoy the pacing in this anime. They get straight to the point. There's no bullshit. What you see is what you get, and it's for 40 minutes. It could have been far worse, is all I'm trying to say. But nothing, and I mean nothing, is beating this intriguing, intricate, and beautiful animation.
The goal is yet to be determined. We simply can't predict the driver's action.
Right. I'm coming, Shiori. Wait for me.
The way that the Maddox 01 is designed and moves is simply breathtaking. For what is essentially a comedy, they didn't have to go this hard, but they did. Animated by Artmic and AIC, Metal Skin Panic and Megazone 2-3 are the reasons why I love 80s anime. This was Aramaki's first anime, and for a first-timer he did a solid job, to the point I wondered why the hell does this have a 5 out of 10 on IMDb? Are the masses dumb?
Am I the only one who understands the complexities of this ambitious cinematic masterpiece? This movie isn't stupid! You're stupid!
But by no means is this anime perfect.
Spoiler alert!
Funny enough, I came in with actually low expectations, only ever seeing its honestly controversial ending. So the whole plot centers on the fact that Koji can't get out of the mech. He's stuck in the mech. Koji Sugimoto, our main character, cannot get out of the mech. So in the final battle, so that Kilgore can fall to his death, Koji simply grabs the ejection lever and pops out of the mech like he knew it was there the whole time and just leaves. Oh my god. Not gonna lie, maybe this movie got a 5 out of 10 for a reason. I'm kidding, I don't think it's worth getting a low score like that, but it definitely does damper the execution of the ending, making what has been up to this point an exciting and surprisingly silly OVA feel like the equivalent of a waiter throwing your perfectly cooked meal at you. Like, yeah, the build-up and presentation itself was appetizing, but hey, my burger!
The action in this anime is exciting. There's a real weight and punch to the explosions that I can only describe as engaging to the point I had to hit that lock-in pose. Thanks to Aramaki's designs and the key animations done by Hideki Anno of all people, this anime's action looks chef's kiss. It looks like a cookie. I just want to take a bite out of it. I can't stop thinking about how cool the Meidako 1 looks, or how Kilgore's tanks move. He's popping out of the thing with no helmet. This man doesn't know a thing about cyberpunk tank safety. Always wear a helmet. I like this part when Koji is trying to eat out of his mech. Show clip.
Oh, damn it. Come on, shrimp.
I love short, fast-paced comedy action mecha, and this anime was a treat. It went above and beyond my expectations, but it fails at its ending. With stellar animation and a stellar team behind it, what I initially went in expecting by all means a by-the-numbers 80s mecha, I stumbled upon a gem. I understood why some sources might even call this a classic if it weren't for its ending. Overall, should you watch Madoc 01 Metal Sheep Skin Condom Panic Armor Booster 80s anime peak slop? Yes. Yes, you should. I'm a collector. What do I collect? I love to collect little figures, trinkets, manga, anime torrent files, and video games. But as of recent years, no niche hobby interest has gotten my attention more than collecting old VHSs and DVDs, and more specifically, old anime VHSs and DVDs. So obviously, me being at Shakestar, anime VHSs and DVDs have their own shelf. Small, I know, but knowing I own some of these artifacts doesn't just feel like I'm collecting old anime merch, but a bit of history that should be preserved. Okay, a little info dump first and foremost. Before the days of streaming and before the days of the DVDs, we had the VHS, which reigned supreme. So supreme that we weren't allowed to keep them. Places like Blockbuster or your local video rental store was just that, a rental store. The intention was that you find a movie or show you like, rent out the VHS tape, watch it, and then bring it back. And if you wanted to keep it, oh, I hope you are down to smack down some big wads of money for it, because VHS tapes cost around $70 to $80 to purchase during the 80s. Adjust that to inflation, that's around $238 in today's money. These prices would drop during the 90s, but for anime VHSs, these things were always sort of coveted to the point we kind of find ourselves in an issue today. Yeah, your copy of an individual Dragon Ball Z episode won't cost you really much of a pretty penny, but stuff like Akira or hell, box sets of Dragon Ball VHS tapes, yikes, that's a lot of money! But this makes sense in a really messed up kind of way. VHS tapes degrade, making fewer quantities of wanted movies, shows, or OVAs limited. They're rare. Not everyone has a VCR or a VHS, so local businesses aren't too keen on keeping these things around. Hell, your average everyday person aren't even looking for these things. Finding a VHS you actually want is a blessing, and if it's one from a popular series, you damn well know you're going to be paying full price or even more. Example, finding a collection of giant Robo VHSs will run you about $50 to $60, which isn't too bad until you realize I'm paying that price for 40-year-old pieces of plastic that I might even just watch a few times at most.
So when I find a VHS that I actually want, when I have the actual money for it, and it's working and in good condition, I come to grips with the fact that my bills aren't getting paid this month because I needed a copy of The Humanoid. Places like Mercari and eBay are perfect places to find deals on niche anime VHSs, but if you look for VHSs on Amazon, get ready to dig into this month's rent money. It's either $6 or $70. Plus, I like to support local businesses and local collectors. Amazon really doesn't need my money, but what makes collecting even more of a hassle is when the anime VHS in question was never released in America, subbed or dubbed. More on that in a second because the solution to that is wild. This sucks, not just for collectors and collecting, but for preservation. Anime like Cosmo Police Justy or A Star in Kanaland never got a re-release out of their VHS tapes, or their DVDs are out of print, making the very few copies that do exist a pretty penny yet again. I love saying that terminology. Pretty penny, pretty penny, pretty penny. Sentai Filmworks and Discotek Media can only re-release so many OVAs, shows, and movies, making the only way to watch a lot of these anime from the past on VHS. And, well, legally of course. In my opinion, no matter how sloppy, schlocky, or surprising, all anime deserves to be preserved in its highest quality possible. Organizations and distributors such as Discotek Media and Anime Eigo have attempted to help by rescuing older titles by restoring, reissuing, and licensing older anime titles that could have well disappeared from public eye. Recent preservation efforts like Discotek Media's Deep Dives project and Anime Eigo's ongoing restoration work laser in and focus on making hard to find classics available to old and new audiences before they are lost to the sands of time. What's crazy is that there are already a sea of anime that are already considered lost to time, or nearly, if not completely, inaccessible. Some surviving copies exist only on VHS, Laserdisc, or private recordings as I mentioned before. But an example includes the 1982 anime Warrior of Love Rainbow Man. Based on a tokusatsu series that was released a decade prior, Warrior of Love Rainbow Man only has 10 of 22 episodes found due to there never being a home media release, leaving us with low quality TV recorded VHS rips. Even more concerning, some anime are lost to time because they were never released on anything. The 2007 JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood movie comes to mind. Due to a mix of the studio behind it closing down, then the fan and negative reception that the film received at the time, and reasons that are far beyond me, the Phantom Blood 2007 movie never got a home media release. The only thing that we're left with are teasers, promo art, a video game, and the first 10 minutes of the movie. So back to the main point. So if you're looking for a highly regarded anime or popular anime series that's on VHS or DVD, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny. God damn, I said it again. But if not, then there's a probability you can find it cheap, like those copies of anime like Wrath of the Ninja or something like that. But some sought after anime is only available in Japan, and in order to even watch them, I need a region-free or Japanese VCR, which will cost you over $180. But here's the real ringer though. Nick, I work at a supermarket. How the fuck am I going to afford the niche that I want? I have a Patreon, but that's like $5 and my mom.
I could ask for more hours at work, but my stupid boss hired 30 more people, so my hours at work are cut. How the am I supposed to purchase an original copy of Akira with 3 days of work a week? Get a new job in this market? Wake up. Thanks a lot, Donald Jessica Trump. Wait, what was I talking about? I don't know. My bad. I don't know. Just donate to my Patreon. The prices of anime VHSs shows a bit more than just a simple collection and demand. They represent a cultural and historical value of not just preserving anime in its original form, but appreciating it too. As older releases become harder to find, if not impossible in some cases, these pieces of plastic holding Japanese cartoons in them increase in price, highlight the importance of keeping closely these works that might otherwise be lost or even forgotten. Preservation is especially important because anime has become truly significant in the global popular discussion, culture, and media history. Whether it's a power scaling conversation or digging into deeper themes that Western animation is too scared to even dip its toe into, anime, whether we like it or not, has become part of our human history. The issue with streaming is that streaming services like Netflix and Crunchyroll can remove titles without warning when a licensing agreement expires or simply when a company feels like it's time to change up their catalogs. This makes many shows, films, and OVAs become inaccessible to a wider audience despite having been widely available before. Physical copies or duplications provide a more stable and reliable way to ensure that these works remain available regardless of the feeling of some corporate or algorithmic decisions. I think now is a better time to talk about this than later, but let's discuss a bit of history of anime bootlegging. Anime bootlegging started, of course, on VHS back in the 80s. It was mostly an underground scene because commercial licensing for a majority of properties at the time was practically little to non-existent, other than a few companies like Harmony Gold or Streamline Pictures, which said companies would also chop, recut, or, negatively alter these releases of anime here in the West. The early bootleg fan subs were created laboriously on Amiga computers, often taking hours upon hours to subtitle a single episode. This underground scene of bootlegging these violent, sexual, and at times weird Japanese cartoon piqued the interest of licensors and distributors. This key moment in history is the reason why we ended up getting Cowboy Bebop, Pokemon, and Escaflowne in the West. I bring this up because I feel like these VHSs, like specifically these VHSs, should be preserved and distributed online. They peer into a lost era of anime. Before we were privileged by services like Crunchyroll, history is history after all. If you're interested in learning more about early fan subbing, Gomi-san made a fantastic video on it, which is linked in the description below. Owning a DVD, Blu-ray, or other physical media release allows fans, collectors, and archivists to maintain direct access to anime for future generations. VHS tapes sadly degrade over time, but I mean, like, aesthetically, they're cool. And I can't emphasize this enough, but I'm so happy to have my VHSs and VCR. They really are a part of me, and I've had them since I was a child, and I'm so happy I kept this little interest in me because it's grown with me as an adult to appreciate more of not just anime history or just appreciate old VHSs or old VCRs, but be able to appreciate just technology, because I feel like over the course of time when technology evolves, we tend to forget about, the stuff of the past, and no, it shouldn't be forgotten. These things are part of us, and it's important for us to keep these artifacts alive and going, even if they are, you know, for aesthetic choices and stuff like that. I really do think that I've given new life to my VCR as of late with playing all these old movies on it. And watching movies or shows or OVAs on this thing, it's real nice. You know, the CRT gives a real grit to these things that are just kind of lost when you watch them in HD or 4K screens. Some nights I pull up my CRT close to me, pop in Fight Extra 1, and get nostalgic for an era I was too young or didn't even exist to truly appreciate the beauty for. Therefore, I encourage an interest in anime VHS tapes and other physical media. It demonstrates a vital role that tangibility plays in the long-term preservation of anime, both its history and its impact on not just culture, but yet again, you know, history. A history that, to us fans, new taku or old taku, need and should embrace ever more so. Humans can look back, but time goes forward, never stopping for birth, life, or death. So why not spend some of that time looking back at yesteryear to appreciate where you stand in the ever-flowing sea of time and space? Till next time, gang. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. So with that being said, let's do a Patreon shout out for Skeleton Gwen, ravsucks, Kosher Dill, DJ Killa, Baisatsu, Goose Killer, and Ed Scott. Thank you everyone for watching this video all the way to the end. Please support my channel by checking out my Patreon. It's only $2 a month and you get to be able to watch videos upwards to 2 weeks in advance to a week in advance before everyone else does on YouTube. And also, please, if you can't be able to support me on Patreon, like and subscribe and comment down below on what you liked about this video or anything else that you found interesting. I'm always reading comments. It's always nice to see and hear what you guys have to say, except for the bad things, because I ignore the bad comments and I delete them all the time. I'm kidding. But please, share your thoughts, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Please have a very nice day, and I hope that whatever you get up to throughout today, you know, may it be well and may it be good. Bye-bye.